Welcome to the Joy Work Show, the podcast that goes beyond the surface of business right to the heart to explore the real joy and the stories behind success. Not just the moments of celebration, but the challenges that paved the way for them. Hiya, I'm Diane, and on this podcast, we know that joy isn't just about the good times. Often, the greatest joy comes right after the greatest challenge. So, welcome back today. And today, I'm joined by the magical Krista Mansfield, founder of Crystabelles and feminine coach extraordinaire. She's a crystal creator, candle maker, and queen of energy rituals. In this episode, Krista shares her journey into the world of crystals, candles, and feminine energy, offering a beautiful reminder that success doesn't always have to come from the grind. We talk about how scent, ritual, and intention can shape your day, the dance between masculine and feminine energy in business, and why honouring your cycle, lunar or otherwise, might just be the key to finding balance. So if you're ready to slow down, soften, and infuse your business with intention and a little sparkle for success, this is the episode for you. But as always, it's so much better to hear it from the guests themselves. So let's go. Hi, Krista, and welcome to the Joy Work Show. I am so pleased to have you here with me today. I'm really excited to hear kind of what you've been up to and everything that you're going to talk about. It's something new for this podcast. I don't think we've covered a lot of the topics that I think will come up with you today. So I'm really excited to hear from you. But it's always better to hear it from you yourself. So let everybody know who you are, what you do, and how you got here.
Thank you. Hello. And thank you so much for having me on your podcast too. So obviously I'm Krista. I am owner of Crystabelles, and I primarily make crystal candles. So that's how the business started sort of 7 years ago. I got into crystals and was feeling quite overwhelmed by them. There was so much information out there and everyone sort of said different things. There's just a whole variety of crystals out there. So I felt quite overwhelmed by it at first. And then the more I got into it, the more people were talking about it with me, were asking me things about it. And I just found that everyone was so interested, but felt like me, like, where do you start? What do you do? So it kind of fell in at the time that I was also really trying to be quite with natural products. And one of those things was candles. So I love candles, absolutely love them. But I didn't realise how toxic some candles could be.
Yep.
And then I got some sort of naturally based ones and wasn't really in love with them. So I thought, oh, I'll start making my own.
As
And
you
then,
do.
yes, story of my life, it really is. So I started that. And then again, my friends sort of really fell in love with it and kind of just found all the joy of how these candles could make me feel. And it just, I want to say sort of all divine timing and stuff, it just fell together that the two things were working parallel. And I just thought, oh, do you know what? I could pair these together and really kind of give energy out. So they were already being loved by family and friends. And I just thought, let's just go for it. So I went fully in, started Crystabelles, the business, just providing sort of soy candles that were the energy of the scents were paired with the energy of the crystals. And I wanted to make it really simple. So lots of information. You probably know that I give out so much information and so much help, and like all my candles come with the information there. And I just wanted to take that overwhelm from people really and make it really simple for people to kind of experience the shifts that I had with energy work and stuff. And then, so that's how it started. And then it's all evolved from there, sort of. I feel like my path has kind of unfolded for me. It was never something that I was dead set on becoming. So now obviously I'm getting into like coaching and really wanting to empower women with their kind of goddess feminine energy alongside the candles, sort of using the candles as tools and rituals and kind of just sharing that energy out there with people.
Yeah. And I think it's really, really interesting. As you know, we met fairly early into my business journey. And I think at the time I did say to you, I don't think I'm that woo.
Yeah.
Actually, I've gone on my own transformation with that. And I have to admit that I am, she sits with two crystals that are over here to the left of me. And I do, it's not that perhaps I had to be more honest with myself about being woo and what it actually meant, but it was actually my understanding of what it was, and that actually the strategic, logical world can live with the magic energy divine world, and they can coexist in the same place. It wasn't that you had to be one or the other. It wasn't that you had to kind of pick a camp and stay there. It was the fact that they can actually, and the most effective business owners that I see understand that, and they bring the two together. So when you talk about energy, is the way that you can explain it for people who are like me, like, she's talking about energy, I'll just have another coffee and keep going.
So a really simple sort of way is that everything in our world is made up of like tiny, tiny particles, and everything around us, although it seems solid, it's all made up from this energy of these particles all sort of vibrating at their own frequencies. So when you're bringing crystals in, they are so stable that they can help to shift your frequencies. That's why they're used. This is sort of going into the logical sense.
Yes.
That's why they're used in computers and watches, because they are so stable that they keep their vibration. So like the most expensive watches usually contain quartz, because that is good at staying the same vibration to keep good timekeeping. So you just kind of have to think of yourself as this kind of being of vibrations, and the crystal energies then come in to help to kind of bring your energies into alignment with those.
Absolutely. It's so interesting. And also it's that thing as well that I think if it can be explained to people in that way, and like you say, quartz and watches, that is the most logical way of explaining to people that this is how crystals are used, to keep those vibrations, to keep things on time. And I think if people can learn that the crystals can just become part of a ritual for themselves and become more aligned with themselves, it's that intention, and just to try it, and learn and be educated about everything. I mean, it's the same as all the things that we don't know enough about. It's the education as part of it. So I suppose, like you say, you give so much value away. That will be because you want to educate people on the strengths of this and make it make sense to the naysayers or the people like me who used to say they weren't so woo, but their mum still sends them their star sign every weekend. And also candles have been a huge part of my life for as long as I can remember, really. I mean, I know it's quite a modern thing to have candles within the home from a sense and a thing, but it's also, for me, it's also that ritual. Like, we love having candles lit in our house, but we won't do it when the place needs tidy. So it's almost then like it sets the scene, it brings in the scent into the home. You want different scents at different times of year. So how can the scents create for people? How does that work?
So
in layman's terms?
it's very much like aromatherapy. So we obviously all know that lavender will help you to sleep. That's a really well-known one. But different scents, again, all have their own kind of their own energy, their own being. So for example, like really citrus scents are really good for boosting your energy and for concentration. They can bring like happiness and positivity. So I suppose it's rooted in the aromatherapy kind of reasonings. behind each scent and how they make us feel.
Because scent, it can be different things, can't it? Because some scents are evokes of memories within your life. So you'll want to, or at Christmas time, you'll want Christmas smells. But you can also use scents as well to empower you or relax you. So when you were setting up the business and wanting to align with these crystals, what was the reason behind that? Why did you see such a tie between those two things and the power that they can have?
I suppose I've just always really been into it, but not really knowing.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And when you start to do it and when people start to question you about it, you kind of think, actually, that is something that really interests me. That's something I've always done and always kind of sat with and had in my world. So I think when you have it in your life, you kind of just think that everyone else does too. And the more you talk to people, the more you realize that actually this isn't. So if it's helping me, why can't it help other people? And that was the main sort of drive behind it. Like I love sharing what I know with people, and I love learning. So it's a really nice sort of cycle that I continuously find myself on, that I learn and I share with people. And going back a few sort of steps ago, when you said about the kind of, you didn't think that you were very woo, just bringing that back to the energy of like, that is all that I'm about. So your kind of logical brain, that side is very masculine, which we are all sat in quite a lot of the time. And then the crystals and things are also feminine. So it's about bringing both of those together. And like you said, they can really help each other. Like when you know how to tap into both of the energies and kind of marry them beautifully, they don't always have to be 50-50. Like there are times in, like, you'll know as a business owner that you have to step more into that kind of masculine. But if you didn't have the feminine energy around at the same time of the creativity, the ideas, then they wouldn't work in harmony together. And that's where I find that people are really disconnected now. And like I find the crystals and the candles can really help to bring that out in people, that kind of more feminine, the self-care. Like you said, it's a ritual that people don't realize they're doing, but they light a candle, they feel calm and sort of peaceful and serene, and
But
that's
you're
their
trying to create an atmosphere, aren't you? You're trying to create something. Maybe you're hosting a dinner party and you want your guests to feel a certain way, or it's the weekend and you're sitting down with your partner and you want to bring each other together and feel relaxed and at peace, like you say. It's
yeah.
it's those feelings that you want to evoke, and there's so many people that won't realize that that's what they're doing within their homes and wanting to welcome people into their homes in that way. And like the masculine and feminine is really interesting to me, because I think I made such a big deal at the beginning of opening my business of saying, well, I'm not woo, because I'd come from this really masculine industry that I'd been masculine. That's how I succeeded there. That I was like, right, I'm starting my business, so this is who I need to be, and I need this tough exterior. And I was almost scared to step into the feminine of it, even though I've always been feminist and independent and strong woman.
Yeah.
I didn't realize the bits that I was keeping down by,
Yeah.
and it was almost like I was too scared to say it.
Yeah, it's the softness that society has kind of pushed aside. So we all want to be this strong, feminine, independent woman. And I think we feel that we have to kind of be the same as a man, because women have fought for our rights and everything, which is amazing. But we also need to honor that sort of more feminine, spiritual, softer side, because in its own right, that is just as powerful as the masculine.
Mm-hmm.
I must say, obviously, their energies, they're not just females and males. Like males have
Yes.
feminine energy too, and
Yeah.
like we have masculine energies. Yeah, and we've all got them. We've all got them inside. It's just that we have generally, especially women, we have kind of pushed away that, well, even men, pushed away that softer,
Mm-hmm.
feminine side, the creativity, the softness, the emotions, kind of pushed it away and stepped more into that masculine, the kind of really doing energy of the logic and the deadlines. And I suppose the reason you probably stepped more into that is because starting the business, you wanted to be taken seriously.
Yeah.
And
I
in
did.
this,
But it's taken me a journey through it all to realise that the real strength is actually, like you say, when I can have them both in alignment. And I think naturally as humans, we have more of one than the other, the energy. I think you can have women who are very much in touch with their feminine side and they'll have all of that. And you can have men who are way more in touch with their feminine side. It doesn't mean anything about them apart from they are like you say, they're creative. They're a bit softer. They're a bit, more softly spoken. They'll approach things in a different way than this real masculine kind of energy. So I think it's really important to learn those things about you and actually learn your strengths that you can have. It's like I was in a very masculine world. I can get into my masculine energy much easier than I can my feminine energy. Actually, my superpowers lie in my feminine energy when I allow them to come through, because my superpowers are empathy and listening and having that care for people. So that's my uniqueness, that's my difference. And it's taken me a real journey to kind of say, that's what it is, and just being honest with myself about, well, why am I doing this? Why am I? So then I went the complete other way and ran away from the masculine energy. Now I'm just trying to bring them both back together so that we can live in harmony. So if people are listening to this and they're thinking about crystals and how to get into crystals, and they're thinking, I love the idea of it, but like you said, it's so overwhelming, what would you suggest that they do, or where do they start? Is like a beginner crystal, or is it just about learning about them?
there are a few crystals that I always recommend to people to start with. So they're really easy ones to work with and generally quite good for everybody. So that is, everyone knows rose quartz. So that is really good for love, and especially for self-love as well, and compassion with other people and compassion to yourself. So that's one I think everyone should have in their little crystal set, and quite a good one to start with. Another one is clear quartz. So that is really good for clarity and amplifying energy. And another one that is really simple to work with.
Mm-hmm.
And then I usually recommend that people go for a grounding one, just to keep their energy kind of, when they're starting off, kind of keep their energy grounded, bring their energy back to them. So I would say either tiger's eye or obsidian, just kind of what you're drawn to.
Mm-hmm.
And then amethyst, which is good for calm and balance and kind of all of the chill vibes, which is another one that probably most people have heard of before.
Yeah.
But if people want to pick their own rather than sort of just go with kind of the ones that I sort of recommend or that they've seen, I would really recommend finding a good crystal shop.
Mm-hmm.
And going to the tumblestones. Tumblestones are really good to start with because they're smooth, they're tactile. People will be more likely to pick them up, to take them places. And because they're
So
smoothed
is that like the little pebbly type ones, about, if you're listening on audio, I'm holding my fingers apart, about an inch, little smooth pebbly.
Yeah. And because they are smooth, the energy that they give off is very kind of even,
Mm-hmm.
rather than a point or something that's quite, the energy comes out at quite a kind of focused. So I would recommend going to tumblestones and just take a moment to see what you're really drawn to.
Mm-hmm.
Because the general rule is crystals will let you know what you need. So if you're drawn to something, and you might look at it and think, oh, well, that's not my favourite colour, or I wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
have chosen that. But if you are drawn to it, it knows. Like crystals,
It's the energy again, I guess.
yeah, what you are drawn to, your body needs at that moment. Your energetic being, not sort of your physical body. So yeah, that would be my recommendation, to either go with the one or two of
Yeah.
the first ones that I recommended that are quite good for beginners,
Mm-hmm.
or go in somewhere, make sure that they are a reputable crystal shop, and just see what you're drawn to.
Mm-hmm. So I do one of those things. I've got my crystals. I come home. What do I do next? Do I leave them on a shelf and hope that they work their magic?
What else?
as you'll see in lots of people's houses, they might have some crystals hanging around because they've gone and done the thing, but they then what should we be doing next?
I recommend to keep them with you for as long as you feel that you need them. Keep them near to you. You don't have to be carrying them around all the time. Like, for example, if you've bought an amethyst because you want to have like chill in the evening, keep it with you in the evening and pop it under your pillow. Or if you've bought a citrine for focus and happiness, keep it with you when you're working. But I generally will say don't overthink it, because I know a lot of people like get into this thing of what do I do exactly, where do I put it, how many hours a day do I have it, like all of that. But I say just don't overthink it, go with what you are drawn to, because when you sort of pause and listen, you will kind of be told where they want to be, what they want you to do. But I always recommend with new crystals to keep them with you for a couple of days, just for you to kind of tune into it and connect to it.
Because you'll have either chosen it because you've recommended, like say you said to me, I said to you, I'm feeling a bit all over the place, I'm feeling a bit, you'd be like, Ricky, let's ground you. And I went and picked one of those, the tiger's eye or the obsidian that you recommended. So that's what I'd go and do. You know, I need that energy now. So you'd want, take it, get used to it so that it knows your energy and you know its energy and it does what you want it to do. And likewise, if you've gone and picked one that you feel drawn to, you want to get that straight away. So I see people talking about full moons.
Yeah.
And here's where I know that I am really woo, because myself and my sister are particularly drawn to the moon. And there's lots of stories I could tell you, which I'm not, because they'll really embarrass us both about the moon. But I hear people talking about the moon. So I'm a believer in the moon and the cycles and women and all of those things. Do I charge my crystals by the moon? I'm literally going as layman terms as I can here to...
Yes. So I always say that new moons are for setting your intentions and full moons are for releasing. So when you are setting your intentions, I would set them always with crystals and then leave the crystals in that kind of energy that you've, like, maybe if you journal, to write them down, keep the crystals with your intentions in the moonlight to kind of charge them all up with that energy, that kind of promising, intentional energy. Then with the full moon, when you're releasing, I always recommend to cleanse the crystals. So you can cleanse some of them with water, with smoke, with other crystals, like selenite is really good for cleansing, and then to put them out in the moonlight as well to kind of give them that extra kind of cleanse and charge together.
Okay. It's so interesting. So could I just leave them in a window in the moonlight? Because like if I wanted to keep them with my intentions, we don't get that good weather all the time. I don't want my intentions getting wet.
No.
So it's like, because then people become, I like to follow things to the rules. So I could, a shelf next to a window that gets moonlight would suffice.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, some people put all of their crystals out. If I did that, I would, well, I'd run out of windowsills, and some of my crystals are incredibly heavy.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I'm very much on the what you're
What you need.
Yeah. What you really want to be working with in the next cycle or the next couple of cycles is what I would recommend you sort of bring in. Or if you've had them on you for a lot or been through a lot, had them near you a lot, I would say to always give them a kind of boost with the moon.
I love that. I love that. Is there anything more we need to know about the moon?
I could talk for hours about the moon.
Right, so let's go back to the fact that you are, because I cut it, the conversation, and took it back to crystals. So let's go back to the fact that you are now coaching. Let's talk a little bit more about, because I'm sure the moon must come into this, about
it's all feminine energies.
Yeah.
Going back even more, so before I started my business, I was nannying 5 days a week, very, very long hours. I got into network marketing, and it was just, I felt really disconnected, like that kind of push all the time. And it's that sort of team no sleep, the hustle culture that and I felt when I was in it, I felt so disconnected from it. And although I did really well money wise, I didn't feel like it was me.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of walked away from everything and my whole team, everything. Because I just didn't feel that it was in alignment, and I just took time out for me. Then that's when the candles kind of came about. I suppose with the crystals, I was looking for something to connect back to. I was drawn to them, and I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to find me again. Not even again. I suppose I was in my mid-20s and kind of I knew I wasn't that teenager, didn't really know what was to come, what I wanted to do. I knew I didn't want to be working 5 days a week. That was that.
Yeah.
So the crystals kind of found me at that moment and completely shifted kind of the whole trajectory of my life. It sounds really dramatic, but they did. They opened my eyes to a whole other world. Then I started the candle business, absolutely loved it. I found it really lit me up. And then my granddad passed away just at the end of COVID, and he was a massive, massive part of my life. And I felt another like energetic shift. So I just assumed that that was because he died, he wasn't in my life anymore, like that kind of coming to terms with living life and moving
Like
forwards
grief.
without. Yeah. And then every single time I was in the car, I kept getting, now this is where I'm going to sound really woo.
You can go as where as you like it. I'm really enjoying it.
I kept getting downloads, which in really simple terms was these ideas that came into my head whenever like I was not thinking of anything. And they were always really random ideas that sometimes when you're driving, you process things and you know where that kind of thought process has come from.
Mm-hmm.
But these were really random things that I knew they weren't my thoughts. So the only thing I could think of was kind of the messages that were being given to me. And every time I'd like push them away or find a block, well, I can't do that because, and then the next time I'd get it would be fixing that block that I'd put in place.
Mm-hmm.
So this carried on and carried on, and then so it was all about helping women, like stepping forwards, helping women, sharing my journey and kind of helping them on their journey too. I didn't have any idea of what to do, where I'd go, what I would do,
Yeah.
or how to do it. I just thought, well, these thoughts are just crazy. Like, what am I doing with them? And then I won a place on a spiritual coaching course.
Okay.
And that was kind of like, I don't even remember applying. Like, it was just because I wrote a review that I didn't remember writing and I won this. So I thought, well, okay, now that can't be my excuse. And then I started on this course and like everything just started slotting into place. And I just felt like I had opened the floodgates to kind of all these messages, kind of where I should be going. The route seemed so clear. And
Uh-huh.
every step along that route just felt so much more me. And I was learning so much and doing so much, and just things just flowed. I felt so in alignment with everything. And it was just like this step up, step up, step up. And yeah, so then it's just continued from there, really. I've just gone with it. I've just stepped into that sort of feminine of being and flowing. And it's really kind of brought me along my path, and helping women and stepping into their feminine, their kind of goddess energy just completely lights me up, and I love every single part of it.
I do, and the way you talk about it is so beautiful. If there's a woman listening to this that maybe was me 19 months ago and they're thinking, I don't know what that means though. Like I'm listening and I think I need more of that, and ease and flow sounds brilliant. But what does that look like? I am carer, I am worker, I am doer, I am keeping everybody together. Like what would that give me as a woman? What does that look like in real terms for people?
So mainly, like, I know that we are busy. Like, I am so busy still.
You're now balancing lots of, like, you are a multi-hyphen business owner,
Yes, so I get it. I really get it. but there is always something that you can bring in. So my sort of main thing is from feeling overwhelmed to feeling in alignment. And that is so different for everybody. Everybody needs to find their own rituals, their own space to bring that in. But at the core of it, it is that we all do too much people pleasing, that we all don't say no to people, that we take everything on ourselves. And I think a lot of that sort of comes back from being the kind of caregiver, which is we all still want to care for everybody we love. But as women, our kind of world has shifted and we now do work too. And we are kind of expected to be everything and do everything. So I get it. I think I've been there. I know how like overwhelmed and burnt out women are feeling these days. And I suppose my message is to people that you can do it really, really simply. Like we can all find 10 minutes in our day. And once we find that 10 minutes, it can easily then like creep up. You see how easy 10 minutes in the evening can be fitted in. Maybe you could find 10 minutes in the morning as well. And it's just doing really mindful things. Like a good one that we can all fit in is a quick meditation in the morning. And I don't necessarily mean like a meditation where you're laid with your eyes closed and kind of, but it's just checking in with how you feel. So take 10 minutes. Don't look at your phone for like the first 10 minutes of waking up, and check in with you, how you're deeply feeling. And kind of what you want to focus on. If there's anything you need to kind of look at for that day, for yourself, not for everybody else. And or journaling, like even if it's just a line in the morning, like how are you feeling today? What is your intention of the day? And linking it to you, your emotions, your certain kind of softer side is where I'm kind of trying to push women to be.
Yeah. Do you know, it is really great the way that you explained it all then. And one of the wonderful things about doing this podcast is I get to speak to lots of different people and ask them the questions that I want to ask people about these things. And one of the ways that I know that I am more woo, there's not a better word for it. It's the word that everyone understands. And the effects that it has on me, the positive effects that it has on me. But whether I'm talking to you about crystals and feminine energy and stepping into my goddess and all of that, whether I was talking to Jenna the other week about creating white space in your business, whether it's business coaches telling me to be more intentional with my time, how my morning routines, it is so specific for the individual and it has to work for the individual. But the reason I know, and I think the easiest way to explain it now to the layman is being open to learning, understanding, trying, experimenting, see, because then people hear these things and they're like, oh, they're going to tell me to go up at 5 o'clock in the morning and do journaling and a cold shower and dancing crystals and do these things and all before, the kids get up. And that's not what it is about. But it's finding those spaces and intentionally finding those spaces that you can. I do journal now. I do have crystals on my desk. I do these, but what these tools give me is space and time to be open with myself and listen to myself.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I'm learning from all you lovely people who are so immersed in this. That is what I need to work on. Those are the greatest tools I can give myself to grow as a person, grow as a parent, grow as a partner, grow as a business owner. Everybody benefits when I give myself that 15 to 20 minutes in the day, whether it's for movement, journaling, meditation, like you say. Like, I am the worst meditator in the world, but I'll give myself those 10 minutes to really think. Meditating can be like, if I go out on a walk, and we're going to come on to this, I'll do it intentionally. Don't listen. I've got a dog, so it's great. I can just go out and walk. That can be your meditation. It doesn't need to, people think they need to sit with their legs crossed and, and they think, well, I can never do that. My mind's always racing. My mind's always racing, but sometimes it can race slower and quieter. And that's what the greatest thing is.
Yeah.
I
Like, being totally honest, I am not the best typical meditator, because either my brain is going or I fall asleep. That is it. There's no in between. But I do know that I can meditate in different ways. So I can, like we said, going out for a walk and not doing anything but being on that walk, or journaling, or, like I said, the kind of quick 10 minutes of checking in. So I think people have this image of meditation as laying down or sitting cross-legged for half an hour and doing nothing. Our brains are not wired to do nothing. Like, and even when you're sat thinking, oh, I need to think of nothing, I need to think of nothing, you're then thinking of nothing. So
I need to I need to take the chicken out the freezer, I need to do this, I need to phone the dentist.
and then it's just more stressful than what it's worth. So I'm very much a person that says there's no right or wrong. I can kind of give different suggestions, and I love it when people comment on my posts and say, I love the idea of this, but this bit doesn't work, and kind of we'll work through things together to make practice and a ritual that is so perfect for that person. And, like, for example, when I was saying that there's no time, people say they have no time. You could do, like, feminine energy is all in movement. So when you are cooking the dinner, you can put on a favourite song and just dance in the kitchen. And that is bringing intention and letting your feminine energy flow. And, like, at first you might feel really silly, but kind of those endorphins, the kind of movement that's happening, if it then becomes your everyday or every other day, I think it's really special.
It's really special. And it's habits, and it's training yourself, and it's teaching yourself. You know, we can all, I never want to stop learning. I want to be the 85-year-old still learning new things, still, you know. And I think that people can realize that it's habits, and the first time we do anything is difficult, is weird. It feels strange. We don't want it. It's uncomfortable. But then when you do it again, you're like, oh, okay, that wasn't as bad as the last time. And then the things that you stick to become your habit. And then you realize how much it's changed your life. And you look back and think, I didn't do that a year ago. But now I can't imagine not doing it and it not being part of. And like you say, I just love the fact that it is adaptable, because I think people hear these things and read these things and, you know, all they hear is to be successful, to be happy, to be fulfilled, you have to do it this way. And it's not about that. And the people that I love to learn from is people who, like you're putting it across, that there is ways that you can adapt. Here's what I suggest. And then they'll say, oh, but I've got to do this, or that's great. So how about we do it this way? And all of a sudden, like, right, okay. And if they still come up with excuses, well, then they're never going to put the work in to make it a habit and have that in their life anyway. But the people that are like, all right, okay, I could see how that could work. I'll try 5 minutes. And then before they know it, they've done it for 10. And then before they know it, a week later, they've done it for 15. And then it's their favourite part of the day.
Yeah.
I just love the just try and see it. Just be open and see what difference it can make to your life. And not all of it will.
Yeah, if you try it for, say, a month and you still at the end of it hate it, it's not a practice for you.
No, you try something else.
Yeah, but I think these things as well, like, imagine how after you, say, dancing to your favourite songs for 10 minutes in the kitchen as you're cooking dinner or dishing up dinner, whatever you're doing, think about how that could also flow out into every other part of your life. So, like, you might feel really silly at the beginning, but once you get over that, that could then have kind of the domino effect on other things that you're holding back from, that kind of you don't do because you don't want to feel silly.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the whole thing with I was saying with flow. Once you kind of start the ball rolling with feminine energy, kind of seeps out into everything, and you can just see everything start to shift.
I'm going to dance while I make dinner tonight.
Good.
I'm just going to say, because I do, and I get so, it's all of these things that you forget that you love as well.
Yeah.
Like, I've got really into the habit of listening to lots of podcasts rather than listening to music, whereas all I used to do was listen to music. And I need to have the balance of the both, you know, listen to the podcast, do my learning, do my, you know, and I do have podcasts for enjoyment as well, but also putting music on while I'm making dinner is a brilliant suggestion, because I use music, like, if I'm feeling low in energy and I need to go and do a coaching call, or I'm going into my membership, or I'm meeting one of my clients, something, I will play a song and dance and quite often do star jumps. And if anybody saw me, they would think it was completely ridiculous, but it works because my
Yeah.
blood is pumping, my energy is flowing, and then my client, the people that I'm talking to get so much better energy for me than the person that couldn't be bothered getting up out off her chair 20 minutes before it.
Yeah.
So you
It
have to.
creates that shift, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
And it goes back to the everything is energy. Like you are shifting that energy and creating the energetic space that you want.
Yeah, exactly that. I also love that. So as you know, I ask everybody who comes on to the podcast 3 questions, and I really want to get onto yours because I know we've kind of touched on some of them as we've been talking, as it naturally come to. So your first question is the joy spotlight, a favourite thing that has shaped your life, business or work.
So just said it 5 minutes ago, didn't
Well, I know that was my fault.
Yeah, it's an intentional walk. I also have a dog, so I have to go out most days because he is very demanding. But I think I could easily fill that kind of walk space with either getting it done as quickly as possible or putting in my headphones and listening to a podcast or talking on the phone or replying to messages, texting. But I really get so much more out of, obviously, I take my phone for safety.
Yeah.
But not using it. So keeping it in my pocket and listening to the sounds around me. I'm really lucky that we live in a village. So like going out, it is nature.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, just that joy of seeing the nature, being surrounded in nature, seeing the seasons change. Like it brings me so much joy in my day. And quite often, like especially in the times that seasons are changing, I'll spot different things. And it sounds so small, but when you've spotted like the first signs of those spring flowers coming up,
Mm-hmm.
like it's just so beautiful. And I think being in that space, again, it gives me the headspace to kind of go through things maybe for the business that aren't forced. I don't go out on a walk thinking, right, I need to work this through or think about this or think about that next meeting.
Mm-hmm.
But things naturally flow. And I don't find that I'm going through, like on my walks, I'm not going through things that are happening now.
Mm-hmm.
I sort of step into that flow and kind of think up ideas for the future that just kind of come from me, and I
Mm-hmm.
get inspiration from things, or I just find that space so productive without being a productive space.
Yeah, I do, and I completely agree. And it was totally my fault we started talking about this earlier because I mentioned that it's the only way that I find that I can meditate, because I feel like, not that I need to fill my head with something else to not be doing the ticker track to-do list in my head, but it is that noticing. And I'm so thankful that I have a dog
Yeah.
because I'm naturally quite an aware person. So it means I want to be aware of him and where he is and who's around and what other dogs are around from a safety point of view. So I don't go on my phone. I'm not making phone calls, scrolling, doing other things. The phone's generally in my bag, unless I see something I want to take a picture of.
Yeah.
But
And
apart from that, and I quite often take pictures of him, but it is much more that, like you say, I notice things around me. I notice that I'm breathing. I notice that the air's different. I notice that, look, that grass is coming up over there, and isn't the sky really blue today? I hadn't noticed that yet. Or like today, I went out with the dog this morning. And it was like, oh, it's really wet and like horrible compared to like last week when it was sunny. And it's not all just about the lovely things. It's just being aware and being in that moment. And like you, I am having to, like, when I get really stuck at the laptop, and yesterday afternoon it was my day to walk the dog, and I could have done it in the morning, and I thought, no, I know I've got a coaching call and it's quite an intense long coaching call. I'm going to wait and do it when that finishes, because I know that half an hour after that coaching call, unless I'm taking time to make my lunch or something like that, is a wasted half an hour, because I continue to sit at the laptop, think that I'm working, and actually I'm not, because my energy's spent from that coaching call, that I'm not doing anything else. So I said, no, that's when I'm going to go the walk. And because of it, I came back and had much more productive afternoon than I would have done if I'd thought, I need to sit at my desk and just keep working. I need to sit at my desk and just keep working. But I went out for a walk. I think I was out for like 40 minutes, and that was it. And I came back like, the dog was happy. I was happy. I'd got fresh air. And sometimes it is ticking that thing of, I've moved today. I've done something for my body today.
Yeah.
And then,
Intentionally for you.
yes, Exactly. And it was an intentional decision, knowing that I still had to do the nursery runs in the morning and the night for the girls, but that wasn't getting from A to B in the morning. It wasn't, it was a choice. And I think it's really important that people do that. And there's been one other person on the podcast that spoke about intentional walking, the difference it makes to her mindset, and and I do think it can be meditative. So if you are listening to this and you're thinking you really want to get into meditation but don't know where to start, really good place to start, to just go out, put your phone in your bag, and just be aware of everything that is on the walk, wherever you are, whatever's around you.
And a bit like the moon. So the moon is very feminine. Nature around us is also feminine. So that's all feminine energy. So when you are out in nature, you are soaking up all of this sort of feminine energy around you without you even realizing.
Yeah, exactly. Basically what you're saying is all the really good stuff is feminine energy, and all the masculine stuff is just some things we need to do because they have to. So the second question is inspired by joy. What is one person or book or mentor that has shaped you?
This kind of goes in all of them. So my person is Liz. So Liz Roberta. She is who I did my spiritual coaching course with. She wrote a book called Living in Tune, and we've been connected from right at the beginning of our businesses. So her business used to be called the Millennial Manifester, and now she's changed to Liz Roberta. But she has a really successful business, and like the books, she's got a podcast, the courses, but she really leads with love. She's really empowering spiritual entrepreneurs to be able to step into their spiritual side and their gifts and things, but also step into that business side as well. So spiritual people are so bad at kind of not money in sense, but kind of using their gifts for themselves.
Yes.
But she kind of really empowers business owners, spiritual business owners, to step into that of it is okay to receive money for your talents, for truly expressing who you are in a safe way. Like, she's bridged that gap really beautifully and teaches, like, her book is about living in tune. So steps that everybody can take to live a life in alignment and truly express who they are in the best possible way.
And I think it goes back to like what I said that I felt at the beginning, that I felt you had to be masculine for success, and that actually it's so lovely to hear that there's somebody, and there's probably more than Liz as well, but there is somebody that is truly saying to people who are spiritually led, you can love both, you can have both. It is not, they don't fight with each other. They can be in totally in aligned, because your gifts or your talents are your superpowers.
Yeah.
You being able to tap into these energies and understand crystals is exactly the same as me knowing about strategy and marketing. Just because mine is something you might learn differently to what you do, it's not of any less value to the changes and the transformations it can have for people in their lives, in their business. There's lots of people looking for lots of different things, and this world needs as much help as it can get at this precise moment in time. So it's so great to hear that people are, because I think sometimes that's where that negative connotation comes from, the word woo. And if it's seen as like a woo business, it's like, well, it's not really serious. It's just a hobby business, or it's just this, they're never going to make any serious money out of it. But actually, why not? Because it helps people, it brings transformations, it's got huge value in it. You can create as much, and we know in the business world now more than ever, you can have the best strategies in the world, but if your mindset's shot, you may as well give up now if you're not going to work on it.
Yeah, and she really sort of helps businesses to be leading with their heart. So, and I think that's so important. Like, so much of our life has no human connection anymore.
Yeah.
So businesses that are really truly heart-led and sort of intuitive, I think that that is the next stage for a lot of businesses, even logical businesses. I think
Yep.
it's a really beautiful sort of energy to bring in for every business owner.
Yeah, it was. And when you think, like when I think back now, and the fact that I said I wasn't woo, I started a community called the Joy Work Club 8 weeks into my business. You know, the woo was crying to get out. You know,
Yeah.
because one thing I did intentionally do when I left my career and started my business was I wanted more joy. I knew there had to be a different way to do business. I knew it didn't need to be as hard as people were making it out to be, that if you didn't work all the hours, if you didn't do all of the things, if you didn't, and that's not to say that people don't work hard. Work hard doesn't mean more hours. There's lots of people doing lots of hours who are not working hard.
Yeah.
And there's lots of people doing little hours who are working hard. Now, there is times, I think it's, for me, businesses have ages and stages. I think there's times that absolutely you have to work all of the hours because you're getting it off the ground, or that what it takes that week. But you also then need to make the space to have self-care, to look after yourself, to be creative within your business, to move the business on. Because if you're always in your business, you're never on your business, and that's a real issue. So I think being heart-led, I believe in putting the customer at the heart of your business and what that kind of means to me. I think more businesses have to do that. But I think also when you look at the really, really successful brands, like global household brands, they did it from the beginning because their stories are that it was somebody's passion, it was somebody's belief, and that's where all their marketing, and when their marketing is centered in that, that's when they do the best. Even if they're now a multi-million-pound conglomerate that now means something different, but they all started within that.
You can look at John Lewis is a really good example of like triggering that emotion in people. Like everyone
Yes,
waits for their Christmas advert.
yes,
And I think there was one year that they didn't have their finger on the pulse and
yep,
everyone was so horrified.
outraged.
Yeah. But I think you trust them more as a brand because they trigger that emotion within you.
Yep,
And then that creates you kind of being able to relate to them, that you think, you obviously know they're a massive brand, but you think they can be for me because they get it. I
mm-hmm.
get them, they get me. And I think that's what keeps them. I mean, there's obviously a lot that keeps them successful, but
But it's if they
yeah,
lost that, or when the moments that they have lost
yeah,
that, those meetings that they have at a board level or marketing level, and they'll be like, right, what have we done? What did we get so wrong? And like, we forgot our why. We forgot who we are. We forgot that central point.
yeah.
And I
And
think
everything comes off of that, doesn't it? That the reason probably why it was started is still very much there,
Mhm.
surrounded in obviously a lot of success, but they talk to those people and they are like rooted in society as this brand that is trustworthy and there.
Mhm.
And that's why people keep going back.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, it's that thing, it's the feeling. People buy
Yeah.
feelings. It's the whole Disney thing. You know, you don't go to Disney. You do go because it's Disney, but it's what it feels like. It's the
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah.
It's what they stand for. It's the magic. And when you walk, like I didn't quite understand Disney till I walked into been to Disneyland Paris. It's the only one I've been to. I went last year and I was just like, oh my goodness, it's the magic. It's everything that they do is that. And if they were to ever lose that, that would be the end of, because that is the essence. If they could bottle it, it would be pure magic. So it's that feeling, it's that, and that's what the great brands do so well. And I think, as you say, every business, logical business, needs to look at that. It's even Apple, the most logical things you can have, but it's called Apple. And it's about, people didn't buy the iPhone originally because it was a thing, it was a status, it was, this idea, it was the cutting edge technology, and it was all the belief, and it was creating this community. That's what it created, and I love, and
Yeah.
that's what. But yeah, we could go on and on and on and talk
Yeah.
about brands.
I'm sure a lot of their products have crystals in.
Oh, absolutely. They must. They absolutely must. And also, it becomes, when you think about crystals and like stones, precious stones and things like that, and what they actually like mean to people. And when people want things to be seen as VIP and precious, they talk about platinum, gems, diamonds, emerald, it's all of those things. And then it's like crystal, like nothing is stronger than like crystals and gems. There's reason that things are diamond cut and all of, so it's always been there. It's not, people think, oh, crystals are new. It's not new. It's probably far older than a lot of the theories and strategies that we have. And, sometimes the older is the better things, and we need to learn a lot from that. I know what I'm looking at my crystals thinking, me and you are going to get acquainted again in my corner of the eye.
When's the moon?
Yes, I know. I'm going to be on my phone, like, where is the moon up to? When do I need to charge them? Where am I going to put them? What one will I put in my bra? So the last question is the joy killer. What would you like to see eradicated from the world?
Hustle culture.
Yeah.
There is a space for pushing to a certain extent. I feel hustle culture has got so toxic.
Yeah.
It is creating massive disconnect in people, burnout in people, doubting themselves because they don't feel that they, like, for example, I hear it banded around a lot, the kind of team no sleep. Well, how is that even healthy for you to work all night until you reach a goal, but you're not getting sleep? Like, how, if you break it down, how productive is that to you? If you're just pushing to that level all the time, you are going to end up in such an awful state that you probably won't be able to work because you will be hitting a level of burnout that is just beyond being able to pull back easily. I would put hustle culture in the bin and bring in like balance and kind of tapping in to each energy.
See, it's a really, yeah, and the word hustle, I have a bit of a love-hate with, because I probably would say, and I have said in the past, even just within this business, not in my, definitely I lived as a hustler for 20 plus years of my career. Work hard, play hard. The harder you worked, the harder you played, the more money you made. I was definitely in that cycle. But I wanted to break that cycle. And whereas now I'd be guilty of saying something like, I need to go hustle mode this week.
Yeah.
But to me, that would mean I'm going to be doing longer days than I would like to. I'm launching something. It is going to mean late nights, but it doesn't mean that I wouldn't sleep. And just means that I'll just be working more than I need to because of things that need to get done for a specific goal.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I was saying about being able to tap into both as when you need to. Like, life isn't the same every week.
No.
And especially as a business owner, there are times when you kind of need to bring in that kind of more kind of doing energy.
Yes.
To push forwards with things. If you've got a launch, or if you've got a masterclass, or if you've got a deadline or a new product launch, of course that's going to take more time, more energy, more effort. But then after you've done that, you're not going to continue keep
at
working.
that pace. Yeah.
Because if you do continue to work at that pace, you're going to be blocking all of the being energy, all of that feminine creativity, the softness, and you'll be hitting a point where you're not getting new ideas because you are just so kind of drained from doing all the time that you've completely blocked off all the being and all the softness and all the creativity and all of that sort of really juicy feminine energy. And you're in a place where you just kind of don't really know where to go, what to do, feeling disconnected, overwhelmed. And at that point you think, well, what do I do now? You've pushed so hard, you're not being present enough in the business in the correct way.
Yeah. I think it's really dangerous when it's attached to your worth. Like, that's when I think it's really dangerous. Like, if I'm in hustle mode this week because I've got lots of podcast recordings and something launching and something else happening in my personal life, that just means it's going to be juggling all the balls and I'm going to be working all of the hours, but it's a week or it's 2 weeks or whatever that period is, then that's fine. But if I feel that that's the way it needs to look, or that I need to go onto Instagram stories and say to people, like you said, hashtag no sleep, because that makes me look more successful.
Yeah.
A mompreneur, or whatever people want to call it, that's when it's toxic, because my worth, I don't need to work all of the hours to know that I can be successful. I don't need to work all the hours to prove that to people.
How productive would you actually be if you worked at 99% of your capacity for a whole month?
Yeah. Well, you wouldn't, and you end up, it's like, I think I've said it numerous times on this podcast, both in my solo episodes and in joint episodes, that I got into a habit of putting the kids to sleep, sitting down, opening the laptop and sitting there. But it wasn't intentional. So I was working, but actually the productivity was rubbish because I was just sitting with the laptop open and had no. Whereas now, if I work at night, it's like, right, tonight I'm going to do this tasks or these 3 small tasks. And then as soon as I've done, even if it's 8:30 and I don't go to my bed till 10 o'clock, I'm closing the laptop. I
Yeah,
don't
and
need to sit and do it. I'm just getting those tasks done.
Yeah. And that's the difference, isn't it? Like, I don't, as a business owner, I know some do, but I do not have hours that I work between 9 and 5. It's very much throughout the day. I know when I'm feeling better, when I'm more productive, and I will put in tasks during that time. And I have got really good now at kind of balancing it out with a walk with the dog and doing stuff that lights me up so that when I come back to my laptop, I am more productive, I am more creative, I am at a better capacity because I've given time for me too. And when I'm working, I work really hard. Like the other night, I was recording a podcast still at 9 o'clock at night, but during the day, I'd actually been out, I'd seen my mum, I'd gone for a lovely walk in the sun. So it's that balancing of everything and making sure that you're not just that kind of hustle culture all the time. It's not just because you are not hustling for 23 of the hours of your 24-hour day does not mean that you are not working hard enough.
Yeah. Or the success is going to come to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, that is exactly it. That is exactly it. It's a very contradictory word as well. It can be very polarizing. So if
Yeah.
people want to come and find you, find out more about everything we spoke about, which quite frankly, why wouldn't they? Where can they come and find you?
They can find me on socials. So I do put up a lot of information on my socials and I love a chat with people on there. So I'm just Crystabelles on Instagram, Facebook, and then my website as well is crystabelles.com. So really easy.
I will put all the links in the show notes as well if you just want to go and press and find and go and look. And if crystals is something you want to learn about as well as everything else, then make sure that you do, because it'll be well worth it. I don't let anybody go without asking them a final question. And that is, what joy legacy would you like to leave behind?
Gosh, that's hard, isn't it? I think I would like to feel that I have allowed or empowered other women to find balance and joy in their lives through connecting to their feminine energy and their rituals and those things.
I love
That's
that.
how I'd like to be, sort of leave people.
Remembered.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that is gorgeous, and I'm definitely going to be learning more about the crystals that I have, doing more with them and stepping into my feminine energy and embracing the woo,
Yes.
which I have been doing lots more of, but I'm going to continue on my woo journey.
Brilliant.
Thank you so much for joining me today, Krista. It has been wonderful and enlightening.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
You're so welcome.
What a breath of fresh, sage-scented air that was. A huge thank you to Krista for reminding us that our energy is everything and that building a joyful business isn't about burning out, isn't about more hustle, it's about tuning in. As always, let's wrap up with 3 takeaways from today's conversation that I hope you will carry with you. First, that your energy matters. The way you feel in your space, your work, and your routines, the way that you show up can either lift you up or drag you down, and you get to choose and you get to decide how your day looks, how your morning looks, how your end of day looks, and what rituals you're going to put in place that make sense to you and bring your best energy forward. Second, that business doesn't have to be all hustle and doing. Finding a balance between your masculine drive and your feminine flow is where the magic happens. And it's less about gender than it is about energy and understanding which one of your energies comes forward first and which one of your energies you need to tune into. And third, Rituals, crystals, and candles aren't just aesthetics, they're anchors. Show me a house these days that doesn't have a candle burning in it. What are the reasons that we light those candles? And I hadn't realised quite how much that small ritual has been an anchor for quite a long time in my life now. They are tools that ground you, that connect you to yourself and bring more intention into how you show up by you being more intentional in your everyday. Now, if you love this conversation, and if it's your first episode or your 10th episode, or if you've listened to all the episodes, please don't forget to subscribe, share it with a friend who needs a little woo in their workday, and leave us a review or a like so that we can keep spreading the joy and keep having these conversations. Until next time, light your candle, hold your crystal close, and keep doing the joy work. Take care.